Have you ever wanted to build your own village? Well, I certainly have. If you want to do that, this is the video for you. Villages are some very simple things to build as long as you have villagers and a few other things. For example, you need a place to build your village. Now this region here that I found is a great place for a village. It's very flat and the mountains around it can be used to either build houses into the mountains or they can be used to protect the houses as natural barriers. You can also build archer towers over top of the mountains, or you may put the houses on top of the mountains. There's also a ruined portal here, which is nearly intact. You'd only need 3 blocks of obsidian for that. Therefore, you'd have quick and easy transit to your village immediately. So now that you have your village area outlined, you'll want to grab some building materials in order to actually build the village. I'll be building it on creative in a flat world because that's just the simplest way to build a village. However, if you're in survival, again, you want to find a simple flat area for your village. The first thing you want to do for any village is you want to build a bell or meeting place. This isn't how I do things. Usually I'll start with the houses and then a meeting place will naturally rise. However, if you want to make a centrally planned village, a central bell plaza area is a very good spot to start. This is a bell block. The bell is used as the center of any village. Around the bell will be the meeting place. Usually this is where villagers will congregate during their village meeting times, and it, any villager nearby will ring the bell during a raid to signal for everyone to get into their houses. You'll only need one bell per village. If you've got the center of your village planned out, then you might want to start around the village proper. This is what I did, and as soon as I was done the well, I started to work on the houses placed around the well. If you're building a new village, you'll want one bed and one job block per villager. We're going to start on a basic house first. First, you're going to want to put 4 pillars of oak wood logs, 4 blocks tall. Then you want to make a 9 by 9 area and then surround that area with cobblestone. The holes in this cobblestone wall are for doors, but you can add as many or as little doors as you want. Next, we're going to finish off the rest of the pillars, 4 tall per. Next, we're going to want to start on the floor. So with that 9 by 9 area, you're going to fill it in with wooden planks and then fill in a door hole. This house design is suspended off of the ground, so we add stairs to it. And now for decoration, we're going to add some flower pots, like so. You can put whatever you want in these. The purpose of the stairs and the flower pots is just to beautify the house a little bit. Completely optional though, they're just decorative. Now that we have the base layer done, we're going to start on the second level. You're going to put one oak wood log on each corner of your cobblestone base and then put a log facing inwards, like so. In each of these, you can either break it in order to have a door or have a glass pane in it. Examples seen. Next, you're going to want to put 2 layers of one layer of oak wood planks on top of the second layer of blocks for your house. Right after this, you're going to want to start on the roof, so you'll have to decide a way for your roof to look. It can be triangular or it can be a pyramid. You're going to want to put slabs like so on either side and then begin on your A-frame. The A-frame is relatively simple. It's a pretty simple roof design. It's very standard. You're going to want to put another little bit of more oak wood planks in another layer like this to complete the roof. In order to keep the inside of the house looking good, I put stairs like this sloping on the inside of the house. Now that we have all of our flat surfaces on, we can just start filling in the rest of the roof. The overhanging stairs, the stairs placed upside down are they make your building look a lot nicer and more clean. Now for the top layer, it is uneven, so I'm going to put spruce planks and then spruce slabs over top so no mobs spawn on top of this house. And then we're done the house. You can choose to furnish it and light it however you want. I lit it up like this on each of these wooden pillars. I put the torches here because it just looked the best. And then inside the house, I put torches over top of each door, as that's just generally how I like to do my lighting. Moving along to the next type of house, I'm going to build a completely wooden house for the farmers. So for this, I don't want the oak log design of all the other houses in the village, but rather something more unique, almost like a wood shack. So we're going with stripped logs here. So on the sides, you'll want a pattern like so, and then you'll immediately want to lay out the area of the house. This is going to be slightly bigger than some of the other houses. And of course, you want a door hole. Inside, farmers are going to want storage. For this house, since it has a log cabin design, it's all going to wrap around the house. Like it's a kind of complicated pattern unless you see it. So how it will wrap around the house is almost like a zigzag pattern, where one log will go as in our first one, like so. Then another log goes like so, and you continue this pattern around the house. Now that our first layer is done, we're going to start on our second layer. So for our second layer, it's important to note that this is the door hole. For the second layer, it's going to follow the same pattern as the first layer, however, it's going to be offset in order to encourage the zigzag interlocking pattern that we were going for with the house design in general. Just placing those wood beams. So that's the pattern for the second story of the wood beams. For third story, since we have our door obstructing things slightly, everything is going to be offset. Each beam is going to be offset slightly. This beam placed down, each one is going to conform to the zigzag pattern on the outside, like so. It's a little bit of a tricky pattern, but once you get it. So the pattern will look like this, and each time it will rotate. The walls of the house are done. In order to add some variation, I replaced those logs in the door frame with normal oak logs. We're going to need stairs, of course, so the villagers can get in their houses easily. Birch stairs because the floor is made of birch, obviously. Now I'm going to start on the roof here. This roof isn't going to look quite as pretty as the other ones, but then again, this building is supposed to look very different and unique. We're going to get a different type of door because this is a different type of house. You can choose to keep the overhangs if you want, but I didn't because they looked kind of gross in my opinion. For the roof here, we're just going to add slabs. The roof's also going to be an A-frame in keeping with the theme of the rest of the village. Nearly every house has an A-frame except for the mason's shop, which is a pyramid shape. To add some contrast here, I'm going to replace these top beams with upward facing unstripped oak wood logs. As we continue along the roof here, it's going to end up, since it's an even number of blocks, it's going to end up with a with the stairs coinciding very nicely as compared to all the other ones where we had to use slabs in order to keep mobs from spawning on them. And a helpful tip to remember when you're building houses for villages is that at least if you're in survival, villagers are going to be living in these houses. Therefore, the roofs probably are going to need to be either lit up or completely made out of slabs and stairs blocks that zombies, skeletons, so on can't spawn on. Just adding the little slabs it touches, and we're done. Next, I'm going to show you how to build a rather nice looking little church. For the church, it's going to be indented in. Adding the chiseled variant of any block to either your walls or to your floor is a great way to facilitate the variation in floor. They create some nice details too. They elevate your builds to another level. Next, I'm going to add some pillars. These are in replacing the wood planks, the wood logs for all of our other buildings. Basalt pillars are almost just stone pillars. Some of the best building blocks that have been added in quite a while, in my opinion. So these all go up 4 blocks, just like our houses. I'm gonna move back the floor here because it isn't quite as good as I wanted it to be, and I didn't want it pressed up against the road. Chiseled stone bricks I'm going to add to in between each pillar, and I'm going to add windows to them later. Just continuing this pattern around the entire building. For the interior of the building, since it is a church, it's going to be rather spacious and is going to need pews, so I'm going to make each window 3 blocks tall. And I'm going to add a few benches inside of it, as if the cleric is preaching to the village. A rather fun thing to do is to create your own religions for your world and make some form of church that's unique to each of them. I'm probably going to use this church design for my world because it just looks really good in my opinion. Just continuing the pattern of the 5 high basalt pillars and the 3 wide windows. I'm just going to move up the path from here closer because it just looks better in general. I'm going to place stone bricks to make it look more circular. Circular looking builds are also very nice, but an important thing to remember, these are pillars, but an important thing to remember about building is that while stairs and slabs may look good, they don't look good in overuse. I've been on many a server where the lobby is completely made of stairs and slabs and over detailed. It's just gross. It looks bad. So after we add those little pillar details on the top here, I'm going to add a second floor and some more verticality to this. Before we do that though, I'm going to put the brewing stand or the job block inside of the building. So I'm going to add a elevated podium to this area of the building because it's a preacher is usually elevated in order to get their voice across. Just adding some walls there for continuity. A little basalt desk or tabletop. This wasn't quite a good configuration. So what I did is I put a brewing stand up at eye level and then added a slab to the bottom of the floor near it in order to, again, elevate the cleric over top of everyone during the job block during their job thing. So next I started on the second floor. For each one of these, you're going to want to add another block to the pillars, and then horizontal blocks, almost like what you do with wood. I'm just going to finish a little archway in the front there. Before I did that, though, I added windows. All the windows were stained glass, so I just got a bunch of different random colors and put them in random configurations that I thought would be appropriate for a church. They don't have to be based off anything. It's just generally, churches have stained glass in them generally. Well, a lot of different churches do. Now that we're done that, I'm going to grab some certain basalt layers and stone bricks to make a second layer for the church. So for this I decided to go with the overhangs because it's in fitting with the well design for the village. In between all of these there doesn't need to be a second row of windows, so I just placed stone bricks to keep variation with the chiseled stone bricks. I also added these in the front. On the interior, I also added the inner hangs almost in order for lighting blocks, because it would be pretty awkward to put lighting on the floor or on the walls. It's better to just have it hang from above. In order to have a form of indent for the second story, I slabbed the rest of it to make a flat surface. Then I began to add more horizontal basalt layers because verticality was the main goal of this church. So I added these like this because I wanted to have some sort of greater indent, at least inside of the church, partly because I was lazy and I wanted it to not be too large. So I just added these little things for the structure so it wouldn't look like it's just floating, and more indents to keep in fitting with the corners. Then I just added more stone brick slabs because they would let the natural light into the church, which is always very nice. So I'm just raising the basalt pillars here up for the third and final level. I wanted to go with something more regal, so I was thinking a quartz roof. Here I'm just adding more of an indent inwards in order to make it look like the quartz roof was being held up properly. And these layers of slabs I just removed because it didn't exactly look the best, but you could keep it. It just depends how open you want your church to be. I just added these corner pillars going down into more on-facing, touching other blocks in order to look like they were actually, suspended by something. I just slabbed this area just for beauty. So So now I'm moving all of these outer pillars inwards in order to just keep the quartz roof on the same level so it wouldn't be an awkward building. Now that our church is tall enough, I began to put the quartz upper layer on the building. I kept it in fitting with the design of the rest of the building because it would just fit in more naturally. So I added stairs immediately to enclose the roof more quickly. And I slabbed it, nor I put stairs in here because if you are building a roof, on the inside you'll want upwards facing stairs because they just look good for some reason. I added little quartz pillars on the inside to keep with the general building style of the rest of the building. So then I added two more quartz blocks and then enclosed the inner portion of the building even more. And then close up the rest of the open space with quartz. I moved out the pillar a little bit and then decided to add a little bit of an arch, just generally because that would look pretty cool. So I'm covering the roof of the arch in quartz slabs in order to prevent monsters from spawning on top of the arch. And then a little quartz pillar overhang because that would just look pretty good. Then I synced it in with the rest of the church, and I was done. The quartz looked pretty good, and the church looked in keeping with the rest of the build. Lighting up the church, though, you might need to remove some things in order to, you know, beautify it. I decided to remove those underhanging quartz things and add lanterns to all the overhangs in order, again, for the downward hanging lighting. Last of all, I felt like the interior of the church was a little bit too dark, so I just added a bunch of torches inside on the very, very highest levels of the roof. And then I added a few pews and started on the remainder of the buildings and the village wall. If you've got extra space in your village between the walls, then you might want to build something like a little park. So what I did for my park is, well, parks can be functionally anything, but for mine, I added in a few little stepping stones from andesite. Then by these houses, I added in a few tables and chairs for the villagers to sit at. In order to get lighting, I didn't want to use torches or lanterns like the rest of the village, so I put glowstone in the ground and covered it up with carpets, which is a very, very nice hidden lighting source. For the last little part of my park, I just added a few trees and bamboo, and then bone mealed a bunch of grass and foliage all around in order for it to truly be a green space. If you've got farms around your village, then it might be a good idea to put bee nests and flowers on either end of those farms. So, as an example here, if you have flowers on the outer edges of your farms and then bee nests on the inner edges, then bees will naturally try to locate the flowers on the edges of the farm. Then when they pollinate them, they have to fly back to their nests. When bees have pollen on them, oftentimes you'll see plants growing, and that can help fertilize your crops and increase your agricultural yield lots. So now I'm at the point where all of the job blocks and houses are finished, so I'm going to start working on the wall around the village for its defense. For the majority of the wall, I just used two different spawn point commands and then the /fill command to just put in the stone volumes of stone brick in for me. However, in survival, you wouldn't be able to do this, but it's just a convenience on creative. My design for the wall was to build these pillars of wood, unstripped oak log. Then I would add little jut. I would add chiseled stone brick blocks over top as those archer things. I forgot the name of them, but I would do those, and then the wall would be finished. Now that that's all done, let's actually go into our village. From here you can see the city walls, or village walls. It's most likely pillagers and raids wouldn't get through those very easily. Just have to stop on the river. So on the very, very outskirts of town, on the outskirts of town, we've got a fenced-in area containing a few huts. We have a weaponsmith here. Knockback 1. It's a pretty good trade. On the outside here, we've got our leather worker, our farmer, growing some crops, and a fisherman with a little lake to fish in too. Moving into town through the main gate, we can see our wonderful church from here, and wow, a park. This is a really serene little park. Moving through the park, we find our little seating area. Very, very nice. Now, further into town, we start seeing more villagers. Got a butcher. We can't get anything from him. Our cartographer. Ooh, empty map. We can get a map from the cartographer. Viewing our village. That church is massive. Wow. I'm going to purchase another map. Our armorer here, he sells iron, half iron already, and I've hardly done anything. Looking inside of our blacksmith, we've just got a chest and a smithing table. Moving along, we've got houses all around us. I don't want to go through the farmer's chests. Here's our mason's area. Nice and open. Just some more houses. Now around our main well area, it's completely surrounded by houses. Going now over to the village library. Here we can see some leather workers. You can get leather tunics from them. Not sure how useful that is. Another butcher. Well, no, the same butcher. He's got nothing of value. Inside the library. Currently, they're not working, so we'll just have to come back later for that, or find the librarian. Speaking of librarians, here he is. We've got our cleric. It's a bit of a strange trade, redstone dust. The librarian sells bookshelves at an okay price. Our Fletcher, they sell arrows. Very good for if you have a bow without infinity. Can't get anything from a farmer, but extremely good if you have surplus from farms. Our toolsmith, he just has a bunch of stone pickaxes to give us. There's the butcher's shop. There's the Fletcher's area. Let's check out this church. Or no. There's our village well and the bell. Let's check out this church now. What a nice place. Very open. Got our nice pews. Toolsmiths, they give you bells for 36 emeralds, which is a pretty good trade. Moving along, we've got a few miscellaneous houses, and the shepherd's house was just there. Got a bit of empty space in the back of the village. Maybe you could put some fortifications or farms back there. So, the entire village has been mapped out now. So, I think I'll put it in an item frame to just admire our work from above. So the top map goes there, bottom map goes there. That's a really large and very nice village. Thank you for watching.